Okay, folks, well, it's the first time I've had to use a microphone.
Minutes. I'm sorry, I'm just reading your agenda.
Yeah, that's fine. Do I have to use the microphone or no?
Yeah, if you don't
Okay,
mind.
how's that? Does that show up? Because I'm not like, I feel like Bob Barker.
Too big for that.
Bob Barker's 93.
Okay,
We already know what's behind the bus.
all right. So we have a few guests present. You want to record those for the?
Well, you're here to participate? Just watch, then they don't have to be in the...
Okay. Okay. First thing is approval of the meeting minutes. Tim?
Yes, you should have received those and had a chance to look over them. I didn't receive any requests for additions or corrections, so that being the case,
I move we accept.
Second.
okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Okay,
Okay. Old business, the recorder building. So as you know, we've been working with the potential buyers of the recorder building, Shaft Solutions, to try to come up with an MOA. And we spent a lot of time with that and crafted a letter which was then sent to the state, and that I know has come back to the town and is now back in the hands of Shaft Solutions and the SBA that is doing the loan work with them. So I assume that that's all good unless we hear back from them. And there's no dates yet in terms of what's up with that. All right, so that's all we know. We know that they got the letter and it came back.
do we have any further action that we need to do?
No, not that I know of. I mean, they've been pretty good about reaching out to us if they need anything.
Okay,
So I assume that it's all good. They've got the letter. And the sale, I assume, is pending. Okay. Fire station. Well, we had a hearing today. Received public input from a number of folks. I don't know, what is that? A bunch, 12 or so. Any discussion about that, you guys?
I just wanted to go on the record as saying that I was extremely disappointed with the behavior of some of the people who came to that hearing. I was in the newspaper business for more than 40 years, and I've been to a lot of public hearings on a variety of topics, some of them quite difficult, but that's probably the worst public hearing I've ever been to. I don't know why that was or what led to that, but the contentiousness is one thing, but yelling vulgarities and calling people names and so forth, I just thought I was very disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm shocked by that, honestly.
19 people altogether.
19 people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And only 11 made votes. 5, they talked about demolition, and 6, they wanted to save the fire station.
Okay.
The rest of them either didn't talk, or, 1, 2, 3, 4 did not speak.
Did not speak. Right. I don't know, and, in my opinion, that though a lot of people spoke about various topics, I was not impressed by anybody pointing out the historical significance of the fire station. I didn't see any new information brought to light regarding the significance, architecturally, culturally, in any regard. I was actually disappointed that more people did not even mention some of the details. I was impressed that Chief Strahan actually did mention a bunch of the architectural changes, which I think a lot of people didn't know.
Right.
And that's one of the things that we get is that things have been significantly altered, chopped up, and whatever, and it, it's no longer the same thing that it was. So I was kind of cool that you brought that up.
I was kind of disappointed that, there were other firefighters.
You need your mic on, yeah.
I was kind of disappointed that, that there were other firefighters in the room and that they didn't get up and say examples of how bad that building has become to work in, and that that something needed to be done. And something needed to be done years ago. And now that we're finally on the road, hearing them, solidify, the problems in the current fire station would have backed up what Chief Strain was saying.
For sure.
One of the things, as a member of the Historical Society of Greenfield, prior to getting on the commission, and also work with local history, one of the things that I have always found fascinating about that building is not the building itself, but the contents of the building. And we've talked about this in our discussions about the historic nature of the pumper, the call system, which is still in existence upstairs, and some other, the weather vane that you repaired, John, at one point, and the other parts of the building that really are of much more significance and need to be preserved, and we need to find a home for those. We've talked about that. The pumper itself is just slowly deteriorating in its storage.
Basement.
In the basement of the fire department, and we've talked on a number of occasions about trying to find a home for that pumper, which is part of Greenfield's history, fire department history. And John, with your connections with the Museum of Industrial Heritage,
Yeah.
and mine through the society, we've all talked about trying to find a home. We talked about it at the society and just don't have room for it. And your industrial heritage place doesn't have room for it either, right?
Yeah.
So it's a place that really, and one of the things that was brought up was, well, couldn't we make that into a museum? And I think that all things being equal, if we had the money and if we didn't need that location, that would not be a bad idea at all. We've talked about the library building itself as a possible future, the old library building.
Right.
The Asher Benjamin building as being a possible home for artifacts. But again, it's a purpose-built building, extensively modified and changed over the years, and really has very little open space and a lot of problems with access. And so it just doesn't seem like it's possible to do something like that. So we haven't given up on those ideas, but we haven't come to any kind of resolution or any kind of really good ideas. I must confess that Sandy's idea of putting a barbecue place in there certainly was interesting, but the fact is that the building itself would require a very, very big investment in order to make it usable for anything.
Right. I mean, like take, for example, the First National Bank.
Yeah.
Okay. Like there's a super historic, super cool structure that's been there
Right.
forever. I think that, how long has it been empty?
Oh.
40 years,
Oh.
I think?
Well, it
40
was-
years.
Yeah, more than, I've been here 34 or something, and it was empty when I got here, so.
And there's a thing where, I don't know, can't do nothing with it.
Yeah.
So putting money into and it's like, it's cool, but if you've ever been in there,
Yeah.
ceilings are 40, 50 feet tall.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to, what are
Yeah.
you going to put in there? So
Yeah.
it's just not conducive. Like a fire station is not really conducive for a lot of stuff.
Right.
Whatever. And that being said, I had a little discussion after the hearing with one woman about, right here where this senior center was a school. And, if somebody said to me, what's more historic, a school or a fire station? What has more impact? Where do more people go day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, decade after decade, thousands upon thousands of children? Have you ever seen the photographs of that school back in the day? When there was like 48 kids in a class, so many kids that you couldn't even get your face in the picture, a tiny little dot. That's when Greenfield was booming. And, right, and some, I mean, I didn't grow up in this town, but if I had, I would have gone to that school. It would have been that school, and I know, I have buddies that went there. Anyway, that's gone. Nobody showed it to our meeting about that one. Nobody cared. We did go and tour it. We did photograph it. We did document it, which is always, that's the thing that I always kind of do. Ed Gregory's always been great. We photographed it to make a historical record of that. But the building's gone. I managed to save a little piece of handrail because I thought that was super cool, all worn down by like literally tens of thousands of kids. And again, nobody came to a meeting for that, So, to me, it strikes me as highly political that people would show up for this when clearly their agenda seems to be not so much about saving a historic structure, because so many structures have gone by without any comment or any participation. And yet, to me, in all my comments that I've made to the state, to the town, to this commission, to the newspaper, which have always been consistent, to the T, that the fire station is functionally obsolete. It's not significantly historic, other than the fact that it was built in the backyard of a house that was built in 1797, so therefore it was on the historic register. It's on the historic register just because of its proximity to a historic home, which later became a library. So if that was not the case, it would not really be that significant. And another point I think is important to think about too is anything, say, along Main Street, that area would automatically be considered to be on the register, just de facto, right? Except that in this case, the State Historic Commission, whenever they get a finding, they automatically send a letter back out that says demolition would adversely affect, I love that, that's their terminology, demolition will adversely affect the structure. Yeah, it's going to tear it down. Like, that's literally what it means. So that's like, I think a lot of people don't understand that, that's a standard kind of a boilerplate response that they have to anything. They don't come back to you and say, oh, how about this? Or, whatever. That's kind of a standard response. So then the commission is in the place of really trying to mitigate a situation that is kind of really out of our purview. We really have to look at the significance on it and the impact that it has on it. And to me, built in 1936 out of poured concrete and rebar and heavily modified, doesn't really fit that. Certainly not compared to a school or a church, where thousands upon thousands of lives, and there's people are married there, and there's funerals there, and kids graduate there. The fire station doesn't even come close to that for me. I mean, that's just me speaking. Please, Margot.
Yeah, I would like to comment on the process. I reviewed the written record that has been in place, and whenever there's a publicly funded project, like a library, and if there's some aspect of, the fact that it had the fire station as part of the property, they had to submit a project notification form to Mass Historic. And as you said, their reaction was that there was an adverse effect. And then, that was in 2016 or something? And then there was a negotiation, and that's their standard practice. Brona Simon does it all the time. There are many, many projects that involve minor historic properties. And Mass Historic, which is a commission that I was actually on for 5 years, doesn't want to stand in the way of progress. They don't want to stand they don't want to defend minor historic buildings and at the cost of a new library that's downtown where you want it to be. So, so you had the back and forth, and you forged a memorandum of agreement, and that was done 5 years ago, or, 2017, signed in 2018. Every step along the way has been according to law. And I think that I would recommend that we not delay the demolition of the fire station tonight, because proper procedures have been followed, and, the fire station is not it's already been deemed minor as part of the district. The district's very, very important to downtown Greenfield, and it's made up of the conglomeration of history that we find downtown. It's not one little piece, and that particular piece was included just because of its adjacency to the Asher Benjamin building. At any rate, I find that the process has been fair, it's been open, it's been according to all laws that I'm aware of, and that I'm in favor of voting tonight to allow the demolition.
Thank you.
Make a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion, so move.
I just want to see if
Yeah.
Bob has any comments? I have no comments.
Second.
Agree to vote on not issuing a demolition of delay? Does it sound clear? How do you want that to sound? Delay of demolition?
Not delaying the issuance of a building permit.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds right.
So, can you, just for clarification purposes, can you tell us what a yes will be, what a no will be? A yes will be demolition?
Yes.
Allowing the process to continue, the
Understood.
building of the library, the new library.
So,
Yeah.
so do we want to authorize a delay in the demolition? Yes or no?
She just made a motion not to.
Not to delay
Not
the
to
demolition.
Not to delay.
Right. So a yes vote would
All right.
not delay it.
I second that motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Call the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Okay. Well, I hope that works out. But as far as this commission is concerned, the process is done.
Did you recuse?
The next item on the agenda is the community. Is it timeout? It must time out.
Yeah, it must have, I guess. It was on before.
Sorry. So as you guys know, I've been tasked to be on the Community Preservation Commission. And right now, we're reviewing plans for the, what we're doing is we're reviewing master plans over the years. So there's master plans that we created going back 20 years or so, quite a bit. And obviously, I've been tasked to look at the historical pieces of that. So what were the goals that we set forth? I think it was 2013, was that when the last one, the sustainability, master sustainability plan?
Don't know. I lose track of them.
I know, well, and that's what I said, because and like I said, I've been on this commission for a while, and I think I've been on a few of them.
Yeah.
And so, it's a question of like, do we want to reinvent the wheel? Let's look at what we've done back in the day. Let's look at what people wanted to do back in the day and see if we're coming close to any of that stuff. So that's where we're at now. Where we're at now is each of the member on the commission is tasked with researching that and presenting that to that commission. And we will meet again in end of the month. So I'll have some more information from then, but that's going to be a slow process. Also, I was working with the Historic Society and the Museum of Industrial Heritage regarding the invention of the tap and die and the patenting of that as the 150th, I think, 150th anniversary of that. So I've been back and forth with emails with the president of both the society and the museum, and I know they wanted to do an open house, and I basically said if we could help them in any way, we would. And I, you know, and I haven't really heard much back, so hopefully something like that will happen, because now it's October and it's going to get to be kind of hard to do stuff outside,
Yeah.
I would think. Membership, new members, after looking at the, well, actually, why don't you talk about that, because,
Well, there was a question about the number of members that this commission is supposed to have, and I managed to find the reference in the state law that lays out the duties and the responsibilities and so forth of the commission, and it specifically says not less than 3 nor more than 7 members, and so we have the right number of members at this time, so we would not entertain anybody else being appointed. And I understand from what you said that you had forwarded a copy of that state law to the town, so they should change the website. Website now says we're missing somebody, but we're not. So-
Right, so-
So we should have put that back in its bottle where it belongs.
right, so hopefully that will get, I will remind them and check on the town website to make sure that that's been updated. The other thing was staff help from town, which it was clearly in evidence tonight where we didn't really have a lot of help. We had a little bit of help.
Yeah.
But most of the time, we don't need a lot. The police were here, so that was good.
Yeah.
Tax dollars. But anyway, so I reached out to the mayor a few weeks ago or something, and we talked about that we should have a staff liaison, somebody who is a paid employee, somebody who actually could help us with agendas, with the minutes, with a lot of the paperwork stuff that we don't necessarily know about, or even just getting our mail. I mean, sometimes our mail is weeks or a month late. Because we don't have a liaison. Back when I started, we had Alice, and she did a lot of that work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they still have, I mean, we have liaisons through the Committee of, on Disability, which,
Yeah,
that I sit on, so.
yeah, so we really should have one. You know, I mean, and I think that, I mean, this is a perfect case. I mean, you know, all of this trouble could have kind of been avoided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we had somebody sort of to help us navigate this stuff. We're all unpaid volunteers, you know, whatever, to try to do this stuff, doing the best we can.
Well, I think we should make it clear that if they do name somebody, they don't have to come to all the meetings.
Absolutely. I said
Just
that.
be somebody that we know, a name and a phone number that we can call when we have questions, and sort of keeps an eye on the mailbox. That would be the basic baseline stuff. But at this point, with the changing cast of characters at planning department over the years and people leaving and so forth, it's been kind of hard to have somebody keep track for us. And Eric shouldn't have to do everything himself, which is.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think, again, people don't realize that Eric Twarog is our liaison
Yeah.
in the planning board. And, you know, we didn't make that up. I mean, they just kind of, either they just gave that job to him or something.
Inherited it.
He inherited it, and, yeah, so anyway, so I think we'll get somebody. It could most likely be Caitlin Von Schmidt, because she's been very receptive to, if I send an email, she gets back to me. You know, whereas Eric is pretty busy. Sometimes he doesn't get back to me until days later, which is kind of why this meeting got postponed in the first place,
Yeah.
honestly. You know, so, yeah, he's a busy guy. He's an engineer, and he shouldn't be our liaison necessarily. So, and I think we'll have somebody. The other thing I had was I have a scout, and he was going to come tonight, and I said,
Probably best
It's
not.
going to be kind of a late night. Maybe don't come tonight. And, but anyway, he's a great kid, and he, and it's just, actually, this is awesome. You guys are, and I was like, oh, they're going to love it. So he's working on his Eagle Scout project, and the project would be something like a walking tour or signage and stuff that would be, around town.
Right.
Which is stuff that we've been talking about forever.
Museum on the street.
Museum on the street, right, and so some of the stuff that some of us might have chipped away at,
Yeah.
And he's, like I said, he's a great kid, he's super organized, and I told him, I said, send me a blurb, and we'll have him at the next meeting, and we'll go from there, but I said, I'm sure we can help him out. And I don't know, I'm trying to think what else. Anything else that comes to mind? Any other, like, elephants that we need to,
I think there's any other elephants in the room, are there?
Yeah, I hope not.
well, I guess it's a little bit of a word to the wise is the recorder building, what we call the recorder building.
Yeah.
Is probably going to be demolished, or they're going to send us an application for that demolition, right? So we should, on the record, mention that that's probably going to be coming along the way, because we know that it's old. We know that the state has issued one of those kind of boilerplate, saying this is historically significant, tearing it down will adversely affect it. We worked with them. So as soon as, so I don't, see, again, like, that's a little bit, I don't want to have a hearing, because they didn't schedule a demolition, right?
I haven't. We
No,
haven't received
because
any.
we don't
yet.
we don't really know, we don't want to be preemptive.
No, not
But we
yet.
also don't want to not give people enough time.
But if they do, we'll have to do this again.
Yeah.
Correct.
We will.
Correct.
And that's
what
going to be, in my mind, that's worse than this.
Well,
It's harder.
you know,
Harder, it's a harder, it's a more
it's a way
important
more
building.
important building.
It's a more
And
important
I think
building,
that's the thing that
yeah.
people didn't get tonight. I mean,
Yeah.
people were
Yeah.
against the library or something,
No.
but, dollars to donuts, as they say,
Yeah,
way more.
way more
I think,
historically
I
significant.
think the interesting thing there is that I think very few members of the population of the city know anything about
Yeah,
what's encompassed in that building.
Yeah.
I just don't think anybody knows,
yeah,
period.
yeah. Yeah, so that's, that.
Well, we ought
yeah.
to sort of let the parties know that a hearing would be triggered by applying for the permit.
Yeah, right, I mean, that's right. It's a matter
You're
of getting
supposed to have a hearing before you,
So we can't
before
until,
we decide,
until
but
they apply for
they
it.
haven't.
See, and
yeah.
I think that's where, like people come at us with this thing, like, in my opinion, it was like, well, when we write the letter, in the matter of the process, we're a small player in the letter.
Yeah.
It would de facto, which is essentially why, when I got the permit for the fire station, I was like, oh, yeah, we already did that.
Right.
We already
Right.
did that.
We did already do
Yeah,
it.
right.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, there's hardly anybody here now, but please tell me, should we put that in the newspaper and do that, or do we wait? Because what if the guy buys it and he says, well, we're not going to tear it down?
No, we
But
need.
we've
Yeah, I
already,
know.
we've
They
already,
have to trigger
issued-
the process by filing for a demolition permit. And
Yeah.
then that triggers us to do this.
right, see, that's what.
And we have to make
But they haven't done
sure
it.
that the building inspector calls, what's her name? Caitlin, and says, okay, it's on my desk.
Yeah,
Right, so.
and tells us,
Right,
yeah,
so-
through her
right, so
or
that's
whatever. Yeah,
Where I think that this, because to me, they're very similar scenarios, right?
yes,
Right.
Almost like uncannily.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
Almost uncannily.
yeah.
We can't, it would be whatever, unreasonable for us to have a hearing to discuss the demolition of the recorder building without them applying for it, a
Yeah.
demolition.
That's right.
Because what if
Yeah.
the guy buys it and he's like, actually, I'm going to keep it now? Like, well, we just,
No, can't do it.
right?
Yeah,
Can't do
But
it.
even though we've already written a letter, so it makes it, see, that's where people think, like, we wrote this letter.
Yeah.
I know, well, it
That's in lieu
is,
of-
it is, like, I think we should have town legal counsel give us some advice, because
Yeah.
they have a site plan, or a planning board permit, right? Or was it change of use? Was it a zoning?
Zoning,
Yeah.
So they had to apply for zoning,
Right.
what is
Right.
it,
So-
Doug,
so
you
that-
know?
had to change the zoning because the building, all of the building was not zoned properly.
Yeah.
It was zoned for commercial and for production, but not for the use,
Manufacturing.
manufacturing or whatever. Yeah.
And,
So they think they have their permit,
see, right. They
And-
may think that.
yeah, but they
And we
don't.
may think that they're green lighted to go ahead because we basically wrote a letter saying, okay, we mitigated it. It's on,
And we have a memorandum of understanding now?
correct. Just the same one. Basic,
Yeah.
almost the same kind of thing which we did for the fire station was, and that, we sent the letter came back. So unless the state says to us something different,
Yeah,
and that's where my understanding is people don't understand, is that, well, then I guess we're done. Unless you tell me otherwise, you know?
well, let's get an opinion from the town
Yeah,
lawyer.
and I feel like it's
Yeah.
been, that's where we need a staff person, because unless
Yeah.
we know
What the next
what
step
the
is.
next step
Yeah,
is,
right.
all we
Well, I
can
do
really
think
do is,
that all the parties have to sign that MOA.
correct.
You've signed it.
We signed it, the state signed it, they sent it back to them.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
to the owner.
Right, so in that case, we drafted it, sent it to the state then sent it back to us, to the town, actually, not to us, well, us too. We were
Saying that we had
CC'd.
mitigated the
And
adverse
then that
effect.
went, right, and then that went to the SBA, the Small Business Association, who's in charge of that.
Okay,
Yeah, because of that project. And I guess that's, yeah,
We still need an opinion on whether we need another public hearing.
right.
yeah. Well, I
I
guess
would
that,
imagine we do.
Yeah.
I think we definitely do.
Yeah.
I think we definitely do. But the question is, when do we issue that? I mean, it says in here, but it's not really, it's hard to read.
Yeah.
It's hard to read. So,
Yeah.
anyway, I will reach out to the mayor about that
Yeah.
and say, hey, listen,
Yeah.
I know something's going to be, a demo is going to be probably issued.
Yeah.
When do you want us to have a hearing for that?
All right.
Yep.
We'll see if anybody shows up for that one.
Can't wait.
I think,
You have some numbers for me, right, of the crowd?
I don't think that many people will.
Put that in the minutes.
19.
19 total?
Mr. Chair,
19.
I
yeah.
move we adjourn. Is
I-
that
I second that
in order?
motion.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye. 30, yep.
Thanks, guys.